What is the 24 Hours at Saginaw and what's it like to attend? Stay tuned. The 24 Hours at Saginaw is a rail fanning event in Saginaw, Texas. Why Saginaw, Texas? Because there is a track diamond right by the depot and public property and a ton of rail traffic. Now, the 24 Hours at Saginaw is sponsored by the National Railway Historical Society and specifically the North Texas chapter of the NRHS, a great bunch of guys. And you can learn a lot of railroad history at the 24 Hours in addition to seeing a lot of trains. Now, this is a kind of a 360-degree panorama of the event, starting with the parking lot where everyone is set up and seeing also the grain elevators that form a backdrop for the diamond and all of the rail traffic. So and it's typical Texas prairie. Here's the tent that I set up at the event in order to try and get a little sleep later in the day and get some protection from the Texas sun and wind. Now, normally the 24 Hours at Saginaw has access to the depot, but not this year. And so they set up this kind of circus-style tent, this large tent that housed the presentations. And I actually saw a great presentation about the Alaska Railway, which was a live presentation. There were a bunch of canned video presentations. I didn't watch any of those, preferring to watch trains. And there were 25 trains during the time that I was at the event. Across the street from the parking lot is this barbecue joint, and that's where I got dinner, and it was a good dinner. Definitely recommend that. And there are a bunch of places up and down Main Street in Saginaw that you can go to get a drink or get breakfast or lunch, whatever you need. This is the depot at Saginaw. It's currently public offices for the town of Saginaw. And it does have a restroom. We only had access to one of those restrooms, and so there were some porta potties. But I have a feeling in the future the restrooms would be available, and that would be a nice addition. I set up around 6 o'clock, between 6 and 7, and the sun was starting to set. But this Warbonnet came through, and this really was, I think, the best sighting of the day. So I spent a little time improving this photograph. This is what it looks like at night at the 24 Hours, and it was real. Although it looks lit up, it wasn't that great for photography. This is the view looking south towards Fort Worth, and it shows the two guys from Oklahoma who I hung out with during the event, modelers, really nice guys. They were set up right next to me, and we had a good time, and I even had breakfast together. And here is what the nighttime photographs look like. Even with my full frame camera, I really could not get a clear picture of moving trains at night. And so I decided to lay down and get a little rest. And so I got a few hours of sleep, which was welcome. In the morning, I got up and I walked around, and this is the static display at the depot of some historic rolling stock. So very nice. It's not, you can't really set up a tent here and see the trains very well, so it's on the other side of the depot. But again, a very nice little static display. Now, this clip shows you how close you can get to the trains at the 24 Hours of Saginaw. These grain elevators provide a great backdrop for the event. And anytime you go to the depot at Saginaw, it's a well-visited railfan location for a reason. It's very busy, and these grain silos are really cool and provide an interesting backdrop. And you can see from this picture of this two-locomotive lash up of the BNSF against the backdrop of the silos, how that can look. I didn't include movies of every train I saw at the 24 Hours of Saginaw, but I did make a separate video of this UP MOW train that was really, really cool. Very, very interesting. Perhaps the most interesting thing I saw during the time that I was there. So feel free to check that out. This video is a classic railfan video of an entire train including a caboose at the end. It's about a 6-minute segment here, and I'm going to let it speak for itself for the most part. Feel free to skip through either to the end to look at the caboose or all the way through to continue with the video. So in the morning, the light was coming from behind the silos, not ideal. But here are a few shots of the some of the action that morning, including some pictures of there's a Kansas City Southern Power you can see here, and also you can see pictures of some of the very young crowd. There were people, a lot of young men there, including some middle schoolers. It was really heartening to see the youth of the people who were there. It was really cool. There was some switching action as well, and there was a lot of BNSF, admittedly. BNSF headquarters is right down the street, really a few miles away. And additionally, I believe it's what they call their Bailey Yard is north of Saginaw. There are two other yards south of Saginaw, which accounts for all of the traffic here. There's just a ton of traffic, but it is predominantly BNSF, although there's a decent amount of Union Pacific as well. So after about 18 hours, I had really had enough. The sun started to come over those silos, and by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it was really hot, windy. I was really getting tired and dried out. And so I decided to pack it up and go home. So I only made it 18 hours at the 24 hours at Saginaw. I left about 1 o'clock in the afternoon when there were about 6 hours left of train watching and of the event. But it was still a blast. I definitely am going to go again. I might do a few things a little bit differently. I might sleep in my car. I don't know, my truck rather. I'll have to wait and see and think about it a little bit. But I met some great people, got a great video out of it, an awesome picture out of it. That alone is enough. And I gave my wife a little time away from me. So it was all good. So I highly recommend the 24 Hours at Saginaw, and I hope to see you out there in 2023. Until next time, Bob Johnson with PK&W Modelwerx signing off. Keep on modeling.